Hello and welcome to 2022 election coverage from KRWG Public Media. I'm Anthony Moreno. On this program, we feature the District 37 New Mexico State Representative Candidate Forum. Joining us for this forum is the incumbent Democratic candidate, District 37 State Representative Joanne Ferrary, and Republican candidate Rene Rodriguez. Also joining us to help co-moderate this forum will be Galván Nash with the League of Women Voters of Southern New Mexico. The rules for this forum are simple. The candidates have up to 60 seconds to answer each question and should not mention their opponent in the answer. We now start with the first question, which I will read for Representative Ferrary. Public safety has been a concern for many New Mexicans in recent years. What are some state legislative initiatives that you would support to improve public safety in New Mexico? Please explain.
Thank you for that question. Yes, we have been working hard on legislation to improve public safety since 2017. And recent legislation that I've supported is for increasing the pay of enforcement by 16% to boost hiring and also retention. And also we've strengthened behavioral health care system to address the safety and the crime link. $20 million was invested in the last session dealing with substance abuse in particular, and a good investment given because 30 to 40% of crimes or people die violently in New Mexico with alcohol in their blood. So increased penalties for crimes involving guns, and also red flag gun safety that helps to protect and prevent suicide as well as domestic violence is important.
Okay, thank you. We will now go to Mr. Rodriguez. Same question.
Yes. So I'm actually presiding over the Local Politics and Crime Committee via the CCA, the Coalition of Conservatives in Action. So I'm actually tasked to know exactly what's going on in my local community when it pertains to crime and local politics. So, primarily what I'm dealing with when I'm talking to my constituents as I'm walking is that the border wall seems to be a big issue. A lot of crime that they've never seen before in their communities. So addressing the border wall and border security right away would be something that I would be looking at legislatively. Aside from that, constitutional carry. States that have constitutional carry have much less crime than states that have more regulated gun laws. So I would start to fight for constitutional carry, or at least more gun rights so people can defend their own homes, because we do have a shortage of police officers, particularly in Las Cruces. We've had 30 officers short for quite some time. And we actually only have 8 judicial prosecuting attorneys when we should have at least 20 to 30. So those are the things that I would work towards to making my community a safer community.
Okay, thank you. We'll now move on to our next question.
Thank you. We're going to start with you this time, Mr. Rodriguez. Some have criticized New Mexico for not doing enough to address mental health in our state. There's limited state-run facilities available to serve this large, diverse geographical area that faces economic challenges. And what do you think are some of the top things that state lawmakers can do to improve mental health resources in our state?
That's a great question. Thank you so much for asking that question. I've actually got 6 years experience dealing with behavioral health and dealing with providers, nurse practitioners, MDs. And I've looked at this topic for quite some time, because I do see on the front end side of my business that behavioral health is severely lacking. One thing that I would absolutely push for is to start accepting licenses from outside of the state, so we can get nurse practitioners, behavioral health clinicians, MDs from all over the country to come in and help us, because we have such a dire need. So that's one thing I would push right away, is to let this state accept any type of licensing from any state, so we can get more providers to get the care that our patients deserve and need.
Thank you. And the same question to you, Ms. Ferrary.
Thank you. We're still reeling from the 2013 decimation by the Martinez administration and trying to rebuild our mental health care system. And during the interim, I'm on the Health and Human Services Committee that also oversees behavioral health. And we've been working on increasing the mental health medical professional pipeline by having incentives, loan forgiveness, tax breaks, things like that. And also educational incentives to attract diverse students to study social work and also counseling. And upskilling educational opportunities for people who are already serving. And we've also improved access to services through telehealth and co-location with healthcare providers, which is in a way bringing in outside providers. So these are things that I think are really important for our state.
Okay, thank you very much. We're now going to move on to the next question for Representative Ferrary. There's a saying that water is life. As New Mexico continues to face a historic drought, experts are warning of a future with less water being available. What can state lawmakers do to ensure our water supply is there for future generations to have this precious resource?
Well, I agree with you totally that water is life, and it is very important that we continue to protect water in our state. I'm part of the legislature. I was serving on the Environmental and Energy Natural Resources Committee, and a lot of those different issues came up. And what we're trying to do is make sure that we have water available through the different agriculture, trying to save it and make sure that we conserve and also have well metering to make sure that some wells aren't being dried up by others using more than they need to. So that, plus also making sure that we can conserve and like from the oil industry with the produced water.
Okay, unfortunately, we are out of time. We are now going to move to Mr. Rodriguez for same question.
Yes, sir. So with the water, to my understanding, that there's a lot of federal oversight with how water is utilized and how it's accessed by our own state. So right away, I'd like to get federal regulations out of our usage, of our water usage, so we can use it for our own people. We can decide what we do with our own water. I do know of aquifers that are very abundant. Actually, down here in southern New Mexico, we have access to a tremendous amount of water. However, I do know that we do have federal regulatory processes that prevent us from using it in the way that we want. And so I would push for legislation to ensure that our landowners and our people that have water, we can utilize it the way that we see fit for our own people.
Thank you very much.
We're going to stick with you, Mr. Rodriguez. New Mexico continues to struggle with child well-being in our state. The state created an early childhood and care department to take on this issue. What do you think lawmakers can address, how to address the ongoing issues facing the well-being of our children?
Again, very great question. I actually dealt with this on a personal level, and the institutions that are in place dealing with the children are a wreck. They're a wreck. They're ineffective. They're not geared towards child well-being, obviously, as we're the worst child well-being state in the country. And so we need to work hard to look at those institutions, making sure the money's going towards effective programs that actually help the children not starve and not be abused, because that's not what's going on right now. What we're doing right now is we're the worst abused state in the country as far as the children. So I would revamp all of those state-funded programs and look at what we can do to be more effective.
Thank you. And the same question to you, Representative Ferrary.
Thank you. It's important to note that we're increasing child well-being in New Mexico, and it's been a major legislative focus since 2017. And we're improving different programs such as early childhood education and the care department. It was just created a few years ago, and that has programs such as Parents as First Teachers, who can understand what's going on in the development of the child, the social, emotional, and other developmental increments. And we've increased pay to child care providers. And we also have free pre-kindergarten, as well as child reading alliances that help. The constitutional amendment we need to pass so that we can put more investment into child education and support our kids at an early stage when they have the most learning development.
Okay, thank you very much. We're now going to move on to some questions with education. Representative Ferrary, education continues to be a challenge facing New Mexico. What are efforts you would support to improve education in our state?
Well, as I just mentioned, early childhood education is one of those important factors that we have. But we also, I've been on the Legislative Education Study Committee since elected. And we have done a deep dive and studied other best practices from around the world and bringing those to New Mexico and applying them so that we are have the cradle to career concept that we have from like early childhood education and also dual credit tuition for students in high school to be able to go and get credits and find interests that they want to pursue later on as a career. And we've had increased investments in resources for native speakers and also culturally appropriate learning in our educational curriculum. And also community schools have enhanced after-school learning.
Thank you very much. That is our time. Mr. Rodriguez, same question.
Yeah, so I'll start off by saying insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And I actually got involved in the political realm because I have an 8-year-old daughter and I started going to school board meetings. We're the last in the country. Okay? We're behind Puerto Rico at this point. Nothing has been done to improve our education whatsoever. So my first thing would I'd start to defund the public education department. They've done nothing to improve our children's mathematical read comprehension skills. I think we just had a study come out that the average reading and mathematical skills out of high school graduation is like 6th, 7th grade. You know, so obviously we're doing something wrong with the money. We get the 28th most in the country, yet we're still 51st behind Puerto Rico. I would ensure that those dollars are being spent appropriately and they're focused on the children, and defund PED so that way the funds can stay in the local districts and the local communities can decide how that money is spent for the child's future.
Thank you very much.
We're going to stick with education, Mr. Rodriguez. School staffing shortages are impacting many communities in our state. What do you think lawmakers can do to ensure that New Mexico will have enough teachers now and in the future?
Right. I think pay is always an obvious one that you want to go, but I know a lot of teachers. My aunts were all teachers, retired. My dad was a professor. They feel alienated at this point. I talked to many teachers. They don't feel like they have any power or control. Their fulfillment is very low, and they have no motivation to really go to work. They're not treated with any dignity and respect, and they're not paid well. So I would start with giving them some more autonomy, some more control, so that way they have more fulfillment as they're in the classroom. That's something I would focus on.
And you, Ms. Ferrari?
Thank you. This is something that we have invested in our state to give pay raises to teachers, and over the past couple sessions, and now we're up to beginning teachers getting $50,000, intermediate experience $60,000, and then $70,000 for our most experienced teachers. And we also have given raises to the staff that helps support and also touches the lives of our children. We've invested, we need to invest and are working on investing $1 billion in New Mexico for better schools, because every child deserves a quality education, and regardless of their zip code. And we also are increasing the pipeline of new teachers and support staff with innovative investments in targeted support for higher education, support such as loan forgiveness. And also graduate students who are teaching at the university level, they deserve free tuition.
Okay, thank you very much. We're now going to move on to the next question for Representative Ferrari. We'll stay with you. New Mexico's workforce has been challenged as the state has been losing its working age population. What are some things that state lawmakers can do to help keep working age people in the state?
Well, a lot of the things we've already spoken about, making sure that students get apprenticeships or internships. And even at the high school level, we're looking at how curriculum can be formed to for certain accreditations or certain interests or careers, and so that they can take dual credit at the colleges and make sure that they enjoy that kind of work, and then also get a head start on what their, if it is a career or a trades even, type of interest and career. So we're trying to make sure that we keep the pipeline open for and attracting. We're attracting a lot of people to our Las Cruces public schools right now to become teachers, and we also need counselors and social workers, and the universities are ramping up their ability to take in more students and also then to advertise that help.
Okay, thank you very much. We're now going to go to Mr. Rodriguez. Same question.
Yeah, so it's for me it'd be a twofold approach. Deregulate and detax out-of-state businesses. I've just me experienced as a local small business owner. I've seen many big businesses that can bring a lot of jobs, passed New Mexico up because of the overabundance of regulations and taxes. Secondly, the welfare state is a big issue. You see now hiring signs throughout the entire state of New Mexico because people get paid more to stay home. People get paid more to stay home. There's good jobs out there. There's good businesses hiring, and we need to incentivize the young people, especially, to get out there and start working, because it's just it's a sad state when businesses can't hire enough people because people are staying home instead.
Okay, thank you very much.
Our next question is about something very important to the southern New Mexico. State lawmakers have worked in recent years to create tax incentives and rebates for the film industry in the state. So do you support these efforts? And are there other ways to create a sustainable future with this industry without depending heavily on taxpayers? Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes, I do understand the film industry does bring a lot of funding, and could be a lot of potential opportunity for the future of New Mexico, as they do generate a massive amount of revenues. But it doesn't come with its own problems. I've noticed tax-funded programs that promise excessive amounts of jobs usually ends up crashing. I'd really like to incentivize things so the private industry can do what they need to do and thrive and utilize this beautiful state for good films. I'd like to stay away from tax-funded or subsidized types of industries like that.
And Ms. Ferrari, same question.
Thank you. Yes, I support creative media economy. It brought in $855 million and tens of thousands of jobs to our state in 2021. And since opening the Creative Media Institute at NMSU, new film studios have relocated here, 828 in Doña Ana County, and we expect to bring in $90 million in investment to the area. And also, I'm working hard to increase support for the film industry recruitment efforts in rural areas.
Thank you.
Okay, we're moving on to our next question for Representative Ferrari. Lawmakers in New Mexico do not get paid a salary. They do receive per diem for help with travel expenses, but do not make a salary. Do you support efforts to pay New Mexico state representatives and state senators a full-time salary? Yes or no?
Yes, I do. And I think it's because we would have less influence by lobbyists who aren't in the best interest of our state and people, and also that it would make it so that we could attract and make it so that people didn't have to work another full-time job plus be a legislator plus take care of their kids and family. So I think it's something that would help attract more people and more diverse people being able to be a legislator.
Okay, same question, Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes, I do agree that House representatives should be getting paid, and so should senators. Someone who's a business owner and is running for office right now, and to understand that we're one of the only states in the country that doesn't pay legislatures, I think a fair salary would be okay, but I do understand why they wouldn't want to get paid at first, because it kind of would make sure you're in there for the right reasons. But again, we're the worst state in the country, so we're obviously doing something wrong. I'm open to doing something different for the betterment of the people. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Well, this next question is very important to the League of Women Voters. What, if anything, should the state be doing to expand affordable housing options in New Mexico? Mr. Rodriguez?
That's a great question, ma'am. I'm actually involved in real estate and development, and we've been hit with a huge demand for two-bedroom dwellings. I think we have the least amount of two-bedroom dwellings in the country per capita. So we can look at permitting needs to be streamlined more smoothly. I know a lot of developers that come to the state, look at the regulations and the permitting, and they leave immediately, and they go to Texas and Arizona, where they're welcomed with open arms, permits pretty much ready to go. So I'd like to incentivize New Mexico or push New Mexico to be in that same policy, where if you're going to develop and build two-bedroom dwellings, you're going to come here and build communities, we're going to give you incentives tax-wise, and we're going to make sure it's a smooth process for you. That's something I would do.
Thank you. And same question to you, Ms. Ferrari.
Thank you. I think what the Las Cruces City Council has done by investing, making that decision if the GO bond is approved, which I hope people will vote for, to invest in low-income housing. Because even though we might be able to build more two-bedroom condos or homes, it doesn't necessarily mean that they will be low income. So we need to make sure that we have builders who will make it affordable housing for people, and also then to have low cost built by the state or the cities that are supported by that funding. So if we can make it so that people have housing, as well as what we're having the program tents to rents, and allowing people to take advantage of being first time into homes.
Thank you.
All right, next question for Representative Ferrary. New Mexico taxpayers spent at least $220 million to build and support Spaceport America. Do you feel New Mexico taxpayers are getting a return on this investment? Please explain.
That's a great question. Spaceport America was the first and now one of 14 spaceports certified in the U.S. And the United States Department of Transportation Director or Undersecretary of the Spaceports has said that she would like to see Spaceport America as a premier spaceport. And eventually the spaceport will be successful and most likely profitable. However, with Doña Ana County, we get and most likely aren't going to see a return on our investment in our lifetime. It's something long term. However, one of the major benefits has been the 25% GRT that has been invested in STEM programs in our schools. And the result is that graduates to college rate, the graduation to college rate in Las Cruces and Doña Ana County.
Thank you very much. That is our time. We're going to move on to
It's greater than the national
Mr.
average.
Rodriguez.
Yes, sir.
Same question.
Yes, sir. So I go back to the education. We spend the 28th most, but we're 51st in the country. And I do know there's some lawsuits going on with the spaceport. And I can just only imagine that it's already admitted that we're not going to get a return on investment. And there's hundreds of millions of dollars pumped into that. I don't agree with that wasteful spending. I don't agree with it at all. This should get an immediate return on investment. 5 or 10 years is typical business. Anything beyond that is probably not a good investment. So before I say anything further, I'd like to see what the outcome of the lawsuit is. But if the CFO is coming out with fraud, waste, and abuse allegations that I've experienced it throughout all the institutions in New Mexico, I'd be willing to bet it's the same case.
Okay, thank you very much.
We'd like to ask you if you would support a constitutional amendment to place redistricting in the hands of an independent commission. And could you please explain your answer?
Yes, could you rephrase that, please?
Yes. Would you support a constitutional amendment to place redistricting in the hands of an independent commission?
No, ma'am. We've already suffered a great deal of haphazard redistricting already. And it didn't seem appropriate, especially with my district. It seemed to be chopped up in a way that wasn't conducive to represent my constituents as a whole. So I think having any kind of independent out-of-state body governing what's very important is not a good idea. We should keep that in-house and have our own people take care of ourselves.
Same question to you, Ms. Ferrari.
Thank you. No, I also don't think it's necessary because we've successfully handled legislatively in the special session in December of 2021. The bipartisan effort allowed the representatives representation that is very aligned throughout the state. And the Princeton Gerrymandering Commission gave this effort a top grade.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we're moving on to our last question of the forum for Representative Ferrari. Do you support extending the length of legislative sessions beyond the current 30 days in even years and 60 days in odd years? Why or why not?
That's a really tough question. 30 days for a budget should be enough, but what we don't have is enough time throughout the year. So having that 30-day, which we try to get in more than we can get through, but at least we try, it could be extended. But I know it's really tough for legislators to take that time away. And until we make it so that legislators are paid, have a salary, I think it's going to be tough to extend that time. But we really do need more time to get things done, because going from one chamber to the next and then having it approved and to the governor, it's really a really tough schedule to keep.
Okay, same question, Mr. Rodriguez.
So that totally depends if I'm getting paid or not by that time. If the legislators get paid, not. Just kidding. No, I don't mind sacrificing at all. I don't mind it. You know, it's if we need more time, then that so be it. I don't mind staying more time up there to make sure that the job gets done and the people are represented appropriately. To be quite honest, I don't know. I'm not in there. She's the incumbent, and she says they need more time. I imagine what she's saying is true, and that no matter what, we need to keep the legislators up there to make sure the job's done the right way.
Okay, thank you very much. That is it for our forum. We want to thank you for joining us for the District 37 New Mexico State Representative Candidate Forum. We want to thank our candidates, incumbent Democratic candidate, State Representative Joanne Ferrary, and Republican candidate Rene Rodriguez. Thank you to our co-moderator, Joe Galván Nash, and the League of Women Voters of Southern New Mexico. I'm Anthony Moreno. Thank you for joining us. And remember, Election Day is Tuesday, November 8th.